Hello, everybody. It's Jamie here, and I want to talk about the iPhone versus Android debate. It's absolutely stupid. Okay, what? What's the point? Just whatever makes you happy is what makes you happy. You know what? I mean, if there's something that, oh, sorry, there's something that is reliable for you. It's it fulfills your needs, then you go for it. All right. The stuff where people will just judge one another over what kind of phone you have. It's so silly. I mean, I and I'll be the first to say this. All right, now for those that don't already know this about me, yes, I am an iPhone user. Okay, I'm an Apple user overall. Actually, I mean, I've had an iPhone for over 10 years, and oh my gosh, sorry, it's under the weather here. And yeah, I've had an iPhone for over 10 years. Those have been the only smartphones that I've had, and what I currently am on is the 15. Show that right there. Now, I know that, okay, sure, an iPhone doesn't have all the bells and whistles like Android phones do, especially when you're talking about Samsung and Google. Now, of course, when it comes to other countries with phones available, I know that Huawei, Xiaomi, and OnePlus are more on that upper echelon there. Now, you can technically get a OnePlus phone here in the United States, but that is awfully difficult to do. You're better off with a Sony or a Nokia. Go if you're trying to get something not a Samsung or a Google here in the U.S. But anyway, the whole debate of blue text bubbles versus green ones, like, that doesn't matter. You know what? Like, I mean, also, just because somebody gets an Android phone does not mean that they're a cheapskate. That doesn't mean that, they're broke. So, and just like how on the other side of it, just because I have an iPhone, as you had just seen there with my 15, and I've owned other iPhones before this one, of course. That doesn't mean that I'm some sort of, rich snob that's full of themselves, or, whatever other dumb nonsense that Apple haters like to say. Oh, I'll tell you, I mean, I've seen both sides of this, and it's even worse with how I've seen the Apple hatred. Oh my gosh. Where do I even start? I have seen people say stuff like, "Oh, well if you support Apple, you're a communist." And, "Oh, people who own iPhones, they just act like that they're superior to everybody else." Those have been a couple of blatant examples. They're really poor people pretending to be rich. I'll tell you what, that goes on and on. And don't get me wrong, when it comes to the Android haters and even some of the hardcore Apple fans, that they take it too much to the extremes as well. This does go on both sides, absolutely. But at the end of the day, I mean, just you get whatever phone that works for you and your needs. For me, when it comes to an iPhone, they've always been reliable for me. I've never had to worry about anything breaking down. The interface with iOS, it's pretty simple and straightforward for me. And before anybody is like, oh, well, you've never owned an Android and yada yada yada. Well, okay, I may have never owned an Android phone, but at the same time, I have seen and been on some friends' Android phones before. There's been, like instances where they need help with something. Now, of course, here I am, an iPhone user that really doesn't know much anything about Android phones. It's like, well, hey, if you ask me for help, I'll just be like, I'll do my best, okay? But yeah, I've been on different ones. I've been, let's see. I know there was an HTC a long time ago. A friend of mine with that. No, a couple of different LGs. There was like a Stylo 2 and a Stylo 3, I think. Let's see, I know I've been on a Revel 6 Pro, and there was some Samsung that was like a mid-range one. And let's see, was that it? Yeah, HTC, Revel 6 Pro, yeah, Samsung, so that's 3, and 2 LGs, so that's 5, yeah. But, oh, yeah, that's right, there was also another Samsung from another friend, and then a Motorola, so 7. Alright, so I've had experience, I've had a little bit of experience being on 7 different Android phones. And I'll tell you one thing, the layout, how they do things with the settings and whatnot, that feels pretty complicated to me. Even as simple as how they do things on the home screen's different. It doesn't really feel user-friendly to me, but you know what? What may not be for me may be fine for somebody else. Just like how, some hardcore Android user might see the iOS interface, and they may feel like they may feel like it's too simple or something like that, So, we all have our own opinions, and, just nobody needs to be judging each other based off of what phone that they have. Hey, it's one thing to, be encouraging if you're trying to get somebody to go on the other side for something more reliable or whatnot, and giving them ideas, but, at the end of the day, you know what, you go for what makes you happy and what fits your needs.